morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Mike, and I was invited here to share my story, and I was reluctant because I don't like to talk in front of everybody, and then when I do, ramble. So that's why I have notes.
We're used to that.
So I just want to. This first part's going to be a little more regimented because I typed this out and couldn't memorize it. I have a lot of things to be thankful for in my life, my family, and all the blessings I've had in my entire life. And you take those for granted. I think we all take those for granted. And we use words, or at least I do, like, man, that was lucky, I'm lucky, things are going my way. And you don't see that there's no luck. It's only choices we make, and it's God's will being done. And whether that's a good thing happening to us or a bad thing, we're all happy and we have faith when things are going great. When things go bad, then we just gotta say, hey, this is not the way things are supposed to be, because we don't see the bigger picture like God does. And so, although my life's been full of blessings, and most recently, things I can't even explain, I've made bad choices. I'm not perfect. I've sinned, and sometimes more than others, and yet God, for some reason, chose to give me some mercy, and He showed me some things that He granted me grace and forgiveness. And I just want to share with you the experience that happened to me on the 21st. There's two parts to it, but I'll be brief. Two parts to it. One part I was completely surprised about. The second part, I wouldn't have dreamt would ever happen. So the first part is where the accident happened itself. I work as a hospital doctor in North Carolina, and I do 7 days on, and then I come home. I drive back and forth, and it's outside of Durham, North Carolina. And that trip takes me about 7 hours, 30 minutes. Well, normally on my 7th day, I get off early. I get off about 3 o'clock instead of 7 p.m. so I can drive home. It takes me about 7, almost 8 hours, depends on traffic. This time, I didn't get off till 5. I'm driving through rush hour through Durham, North Carolina, and there's 5+ lanes of traffic. It didn't bother me. I've made this trip more than 50 times. So, during this time, there's a lot of personal things going on in my life that, I think, why am I here? Why am I still here? And am I better off if I'm not here? You have these dark thoughts, like, not that you want to do anything bad, but you're just thinking, am I better off just not being here? Why am I here? So I just got off the phone with my wife a few minutes prior to the accident, and she was going to some open houses with the kids, and my daughter's birthday was the next day, and I just wanted to get home so I could get some sleep, so I could have a good day the next day. So I drove down through Durham, set my cruise control about, I think, 75 to keep up with traffic. Traffic is moving alongside of me, and out of my peripheral vision, everything looked like it was going good. I got distracted, looked up, too late. I'm going full speed. The traffic in my lane was stopped. Going full speed, hit the back end of a truck. But briefly, I had enough time. It was that quick, but I had enough time. In that split second, I knew, just overwhelmingly, because I worked at Grant Medical Center, the trauma center, and I know that an impact this fast, it's mortality. I wasn't making it. So I said a prayer. And I didn't say, oh, God, save me, if. So I knew I was done. So I said, I started off with all my prayers. My Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name, and Jesus, in your Son's name, Jesus, I pray. And I said, Father, you're taking me off this earth today. Forgive me of all my sins and take me home. Sorry. So I said that, and I said that prayer, and I knew that's the only time I had just to forgive me my sins because I'm not making it. And so I felt warm, and then I heard the impact, and that was it. It was lights off. So I woke up, and there's this airbag dust all around, and I'm surprised. I'm alive? What? And mentally I'm a little confused, but like, wow, I'm alive. What's going on? And I won't talk brief. I'll just very briefly touch on this because it's just a lot of detail. But I started assessing myself like a doctor. What's going on? I didn't even panic. I'm like, I'm alive. Started assessing my injuries, and I'm like, oh, what's a lot? No pain. I didn't feel any pain at that time. Everything was kind of numb. But I knew this smoke may be fire, so I didn't want to die. At that point, I was like, well, I'm alive. I don't want to die now. I don't want to burn up in the car, right? So I reach out the passenger window, and I yell. In my opinion, I yelled. But what came out was, help. I was like, well, where did that come from? And I did it again. And I was like, and then all of a sudden an overwhelming pain took hold. And that's when I noticed the seatbelt was kind of squashed over. And that seatbelt kind of cut everything off the inside. I was like, oh, that's pretty bad. And then there was I thought it was a rescue guy at the time. It was a bystander. And I told him to call my wife. And I said, here's her name, here's her number, call her now. I'm not gonna make it. And he's like, I said, no, just do that or I'm not answering another question. Call her now because I don't know how long I'm gonna be lucid. And I don't know if I'll remember this again. And then after that I said, I'm gonna pass out. And then that was it. I remember him pulling me out of the car. They used an extractor. They had the jaws of life. They had to expand the car to get it off of me. And I remember being jostled out of the car. I remember my clothes being cut off. And I was in and out after that. And that was about it. So that's dramatic enough. That's more than enough to be thankful for, that God spared me for why. I don't know why. He'll reveal it eventually. But spared me. I was like, okay. Well, they saved my life at Duke. I was about 4 miles from Duke, so I worked right outside of there. And evidently, I didn't get the picture enough. God's like, man, you're still not getting this. The next part is more profound to me than this first part. Everyone has an accident story or knows someone with an accident that lived. But this next part, I guess I could have made it up, but I couldn't have made this up. I wouldn't have known how. And if you would have told me this story prior to this happening to me, a small part of me would have been like, yeah, maybe, and kind of eye-rolling, like, yeah, okay, did that happen? Okay. So about a week and 3 days after I was in the hospital, I was in the ICU for almost 2 weeks. So about a week and 3 days after that, I was getting dizzy, short of breath, just got extubated a few days before that. I had a sudden onset. My wife was there with me. She stayed. She's been a blessing. She's been my guardian and caretaker. So I couldn't do it without her. I can tell you, God put her there for a reason. So she was there, and I told her, we were just talking. I said, oh, you're in a lot of pain. And I was like real short of breath, and my nurse was there, kind of discounting me, kind of like medical professionals do a lot of times. And my heart rate started going real fast, my oxygen was going down. She said, breathe slow. I said, look, there's pain, I'm short of breath, I'm not having a panic attack. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I'm not. Hit your pain medicine. I hit my pain medicine. It was Dilaudid in the IV. I hit it, and probably about a minute or two later, it got so much worse. I couldn't breathe then. It's like, Anyway, to find out what that story, I'll reveal that at the end, what was going on. But as the events unfolded, I started getting a little bit more anxious because the pain was getting so intense that it was hard to focus on anything. And I told the nurse several times, get the attendant in here, get someone in here, and it just started spiraling down, and Arlie's there, she didn't know what to do, spiraling down, and then I became unresponsive. My oxygen went way down, went under 70, and then evidently, I mean, I was out, but I guess I coded. They had a bunch of people in there, and it was like, she's watching the whole thing unfold. Now, there's all this chaos going on. People running in, doing all this stuff, coding me, but me, what I experienced was not just blank, and this is where I'm like, if someone had told me this before, I would have been like, okay. But it happened to me, and like I have no idea why or why God chose me, and it's hard for me to tell this without choking up. So I apologize if I do.
It's okay.
So to me, I was warm. I was peaceful. I was just I wasn't floating above or going around. I didn't see a bright light, but I was right there, kind of not aware of what was going on at all. Just like my body was here, but it wasn't me. I was just sitting there, and I was talking to someone. So I'm like, pick up this conversation in mid-conversation, and this was an old acquaintance, an old real good acquaintance of mine, kind of friend, but we were real good buddies in nursing school. His name was Jared Fabini. Jared, anybody know him? Jared Fabini. Anyway, he's a drug rep for hospital drugs, and I see him from time to time. He coaches baseball against us, and I see him from time to time. We talk. Anyway, this person here was Jared Fabini to me, but he had a robe on and it was covering his eyes. But it sounded like Jared, and I thought it was Jared, so I was talking to him, and so I was real peaceful, and he's just sitting there calm as can be, and I said, so they've got you working all the way down here, because it's Duke, and I'm like, man, he's in Zanesville, he's the drug rep, but I said, they got you working all the way down here, and he said, real calm, he says, Michael, it seems I work a little everywhere. I was like, Michael, okay. Well, so we're just talking, and I started telling him, I was in this car accident, and I got all this stress. Evidently, there's a bunch of chaos going in the room, but I'm not aware of any of that. So I said, yeah, I had this car accident, I got all this stuff going on, and I said, I'm really stressed, and I don't know if I'm gonna make it, And then he said, you see this doctor here? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, he's under stress right now. And he said, you see this other doctor here? I said, yeah. And he says, well, he's under stress. And, he's got something going on with his wife. I'm like, okay. He goes, but you know what? It's going to be okay. I was like, okay. And I can't recall the entirety of the rest of that conversation, but it was just a brief interaction. But I remember as it ended, I still felt real peaceful. And he ended with what I woke up speaking this word, and I don't know what it is. And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh, that's pretty common. And I guess Jesus used that. It's Aramaic. It's where did I write it down? Shlama Alquam. But or you can say the Hebrew version is Shalom Alchim, and it means peace be with you. And I guess that could be saying hello or goodbye. But anyway, he said this to me, and I thought, well, that was kind of rude. He said something to me that I don't understand what this is. So he says this word, and then he kind of walks away, and I want to tell him, hey, what was that? That's kind of rude. You're walking away. And so my eyes open up, even though they're open. I'm talking to this guy. My eyes open up, and it's the now reality. And it's kind of all dark in my room, and I was gonna say, hey Jared, that was there's no one there. And I asked Arlie, I said, hey Arlie, was Jared here? She said, no. I said, was there a doctor here that looked or sounded like Jared? She was like, there's no one here. And so I was speaking this word, and I said, I need your phone. So I started looking what the word I thought was something differently. So I was looking at the English translation where I thought someone might have said to me, I said, oh, there's something going on here. And that wasn't it. So I started speaking it to Arlie, and Arlie looked it up, and I said, I don't think that's it, that's not it. Then she started playing recordings of how it was pronounced, this. That one's it. And that's what we came up with. So, to me, I don't know why it shows, and I wouldn't believe me either. And I don't believe people Well, I didn't believe people, like, we're kind of eye-rolly, and then it happens, and let me tell you one other thing that happened during that time, and now I'm like, oh gosh, maybe these are all real, all right? I'll tell you what happened when he started talking to me. He said, Michael, seems like I work a little everywhere. And I don't know if that was Jesus or God or an angel, but he kind of reached out and just kind of comforted, like a touch. And all of a sudden, and this is just my interpretation of what happened to me, all of a sudden, all these little Bible stories and all these little things that we hear, it just came all to one little point. It was like, oh man, this is all true. And it made it easy for me at that point. It was like black, white. Well, you're either going to do it or you don't. Yes, no, believe or not. And it was like, oh, this is so easy, it's so simple. Like, why do you struggle with this? So as time goes on and we get away from that, and this is what happens to you personally, you still find out, gosh, you know what? I'm human. Even this wonderful thing happened to you, you still find yourself getting angry or, like saying something that you don't want to say, and you're human. But you know what keeps everything in check for me is that God, we're promised that His grace and forgiveness and love is always there, and it's new every day. Amen. So I know I ask for forgiveness a lot still, but there's no doubt in my mind there's God. There is no doubt. Before, I was a Christian, and I've been baptized a couple of times. One, I was baptized because that was the right thing to do. Second time I was baptized because, I thought I made these conscious choices. And this time, maybe He's like, maybe you gotta really die to your old ways first, kid. Yeah. Let's take care of this. Now you're baptized, because I can tell you, there's no doubt in my mind. And I still slip once in a while because I'm human and I'm Mike. But if I were perfect, I wouldn't have been granted any grace. Anyway, that's roughly my story. So, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share.